this video, we're going to talk about the behavior of learn deliberately. The point is that by learning deliberately, you are choosing your activities based on your opportunity to learn. I said for a long time that Lean is fundamentally about learning and creating a learning organization. And problem solving, I think, is all about that. Problem solving is a learning activity in its own right. In fact, if you already know the answer, if you have already learned what you need to learn, then going through formal problem solving is actually creating waste. So we really have to understand that when we're investing in problem solving, we are investing in learning. The question is, are our behaviors consistent with the practice of learning deliberately? Now, the best way you can see this is through deep observation. We talk about direct observation in The Hitchhiker's Guide to Lean, the ability to go to the point of activity, whatever that place might be, and see firsthand what's actually happening. Go past the surface information. And deep observation means that you're really seeking to understand why things are the way that they are. Now, in problem solving, what many people do is they have to pick a tool. They pick process maps or 5 whys or all sorts of other things for solving that problem. But in the end, all of those tools are really just about understanding. They're about deep observation. They're about trying to understand cause and effect. So what we're trying to do is create useful knowledge. As we do that, we have to understand what our knowledge gap is. At this stage in problem solving, I fundamentally ask 2 questions. First, what knowledge do we need to gain? What do we not understand about this problem that we need to learn? That essentially defines the gap, the purpose of the learning. And second, what's the right tool or method to go learn? That's the method of how we're going to go create that learning. So creating useful knowledge is about understanding cause and effect. And so asking those questions is about understanding how those things connect. In the article by Kent Bowen and Steve Spears, Decoding the DNA of the Toyota Production System, they talk about building a community of scientists. And whether the scientist is working at the strategic level, or the tactical level, or the personal level, or the team process level, at any level, the point of being a team of scientists, a community of scientists, is that we want to understand why things are the way that they are. The idea that it just works isn't good enough. Because it's working isn't knowledge. It might be luck. It certainly isn't knowledge that we can use in the future. And so the job of a scientist is to understand cause and effect, to understand why things are the way that they are. And the practice of deep observation, choosing the right tools and methods so that we can practice deep observation and learn, is consistent with the deliberate learned behavior. Problem solving is fundamentally about investing in knowledge. So we have to look at how we approach our problem solving effort, not just about whether it solves the problem or not, but whether it gains us knowledge that we can use in the future. We often say that lean organizations take a longer term view, not just around the strategy of the organization, but around things like investing in knowledge. Now, if you treat your problem solving as a tool, as a method to build and invest in knowledge, each time you practice it, it might seem like it takes a little longer than just getting to an answer. But there are benefits long term that come from that. First is we do get speed in the future. This particular effort might be a little slower because we dug a little deeper. We sought that deep understanding. But we get speed in the future because we do understand. We have models of how things work, whether they're in our head or written down. We understand cause and effect better. We understand how to collaborate and share knowledge, and we build on that knowledge of cause and effect that we've already invested in. So whether it's simply problem solving or innovation, that speed that we get comes from the knowledge that we've already built. Second is that it allows us to dig deeper. We get past the surface level knowledge because we already know that. We get to dig deeper into nuance and granularity and find new opportunities to improve. We get to find new opportunities, new points of leverage that help us move the organization forward, move the process forward, move the problem forward. And so that opportunity to dig deeper comes from that investment in knowledge. Now, as we practice this, every time we solve a problem, we get to choose between being a knower and being a learner. The path of being a knower really begins with assumption. The pathway of being a learner really begins with observation. So the path of the knower begins with that assumption. It allows us to jump to a solution. Right now, that sounds bad on the surface, but we'll come back to why we need to do that sometimes. We now have a solution, we go ahead and implement that solution. And finally, we end up with a result. So the pathway of a knower is assume, solution, implement, and then result. The learner's path is fundamentally different. It begins with observation, the intent to learn deliberately. We then create a hypothesis through one mechanism or another, which allows us to frame the knowledge that we think that we've gained. We then do an experiment to validate the knowledge that we've gained, and that becomes the outcome is the knowledge. So we go from observe to hypothesis to experiment to knowledge. Now the point is, it's not about whether we're a learner or a knower. It's about making good choices with problem solving, with each particular problem we experience, about when to follow which pathway. If we only follow the learner pathway, we won't be able to function. If every time you try to get dressed and you started to examine, why do I need pants? Or how do I tie my shoes? Every single day, you would hardly get out of the gate. So we have to be in a knower mindset for an awful lot of things that we do. The question is, can we make good choices about when to learn deliberately? When do we choose the path of observe, hypothesis, experiment, and knowledge gained? And fundamentally, if we've decided to do systematic problem solving, that should be the same choice we've made, which is to act as a learner. By learning deliberately, we insert one of the most fundamental behaviors that makes problem solving effective.